children, welcome to SR Concepts. I am Ravi Verma. In this video, I am going to start the chapter number 3, that is atoms and molecules. In this video, we will discuss the following topics. First of all, we will be introduced to the chapter, then we will discuss the laws of chemical combination. First law is the law of conservation of mass, and the second law is the law of constant proportions. So let's proceed further. So dear students, let's talk about the introduction. Dear students, in the first chapter we have discussed that the matter is made up of very tiny particles, and this is true about all the matters. But previously the people thought that the matter is actually continuous and it is not made up of particles. So how did the concept of particles of matter originate? It was from Maharishi Kanad. If we talk about Maharishi Kanad, he was an Indian philosopher. Maharishi Kanad postulated that if we go on dividing matter, Padarth, we shall get smaller and smaller particles, and ultimately a stage will come when we shall come across the smallest particles beyond which further division will not be possible. He named these smallest particles as Parmanu. So according to Maharishi Kanad, if we keep on breaking a matter into again and again into smaller and smaller particles, then ultimately we will got the smallest particles, which he called Parmanu, and he said that Parmanu cannot be broken down further. Pakuda Katyayama, another Indian philosopher, postulated or elaborated the theory and postulated that the particles normally exist in combined state, which gives us various forms of matter. So according to him, according to Katyayama, Parmanu of different padarth combine together to make other types of matters or other types of padarth. In the same way, almost the same concept or theory was given by Democritus and Leucippus. They suggested that if we go on dividing matter, a stage will come when particles obtained cannot be divided further. Democritus called these indivisible particles atoms because atom means indivisible. So once again I will describe you that Democritus and Leucippus told that if we keep on breaking matter again and again and again, finally we will get the smallest particles known as atoms, and the atoms are indivisible in nature. So dear students, let's proceed on to the next topic, that is laws of chemical combinations. Dear students, we know that elements combine chemically to form compounds, and this process is called chemical combination. So when two elements combine, they make a compound. For example, if we talk about hydrogen and oxygen, so when the element hydrogen and the element oxygen combine together, they make a compound known as water. So this type of combination is called chemical combination. Now what are the laws of chemical combination? So dear students, during chemical combination, the elements follow certain laws. They are called laws of chemical combination, and these were given by Antoine L. Lavoisier and Proust. The two established two important laws of chemical combination, and these are the law of conservation of mass and the law of constant proportions. So we can say there are two laws of chemical combination. One is law of conservation of mass and the second law of constant proportions. Okay, so let's understand and discuss the first law, that is law of conservation of mass. It states that mass can neither be created nor destroyed in a chemical reaction, or we can say that in any chemical reaction the total mass of reactants is equal to the total mass of products, and there is no change in mass during a chemical reaction. We will understand this law by an activity. Look at this diagram. We have taken a conical flask. This one is the conical flask. Then we have put a cork, right? The cork is actually a cap. Okay, we have taken an ignition tube. We made two solutions. We took solution of barium chloride in the conical flask, here you can see, and the solution of sodium sulfate in the ignition tube, here you can see, right? So we placed this ignition tube filled with solution of sodium sulfate by the help of a thread inside the conical flask, and we put the cork in it. But we had done this in such a manner that the two solutions do not come in contact with each other and they are separated from each other. As we have prepared this apparatus and taken the solutions in such a form, we will take the weight of whole the apparatus on a weighing scale, and suppose the mass comes to be 30 gram, or suppose it is 50 gram. Alright, so total mass suppose comes to be 50 or whatever it may be. Okay, so what we will do, we have taken the mass of the whole apparatus before the chemical reaction. Now what we will do, we will shake the apparatus in such a way that the solution of sodium sulfate and the solution of barium chloride mixed together, means the solution of sodium sulfate from the ignition tube comes out and gets mixed with the solution of barium chloride. When they will mix together, they will start a chemical reaction, and we will allow the chemical reaction to take place for certain time, and after that time period we will take the weight of the whole apparatus once again, and we will see that the weight of the whole apparatus after the chemical reaction is still the same, that is around 50 gram. So whatever it will be, it may be whatever mass, you will see that the total mass or the total weight of the apparatus before the chemical reaction will be equal to the total weight after the chemical reaction. This means that during the chemical reaction between the sodium sulfate and barium chloride, there was no change in mass, means the mass was neither created and nor destroyed. Let's understand further what chemical reaction took place. We had taken barium chloride and sodium sulfate. These two chemicals undergone chemical reaction and they are called reactants. So the substances which undergo chemical reaction are called reactants. These reactants or these substances actually converted into new substances, the barium sulfate and sodium chloride. These newly formed chemical substances are called products of the chemical reaction. So as we noticed that there was no change in mass, obviously we can say that the total mass of products which were formed was equal to the total mass of reactants, means the total mass of barium sulfate and sodium chloride which were formed was equal to the total mass of barium chloride and sodium sulfate. This is how we can define the law of conservation of mass in two ways. One, that mass can neither be created nor destroyed in a chemical reaction. The second, the total mass of reactants is equal to total mass of products in a chemical reaction. Hope you got the concept of law of conservation of mass. So dear students, here I have described the whole activity in more detail. You should note these in your copy. Alright, you should read it and understand it well, so that all the doubts are clear to you. Okay, so now let's move on to the next law, that is law of constant proportions. Dear students, here you can see what is written. Lavoisier and other scientists noted that every compound has the same elements in the same proportions always, irrespective of where the compound came from or who prepared it. So dear students, here you can see Proust stated this law, and what he said: in a chemical substance, the elements are always present in a definite proportions by mass, in definite proportions by mass. So let's understand what they tried to say. They tried to say that a chemical compound is always made up of same elements. For example, if we talk about water, that is H2O. If we take water from tap of your school, or from any river, or from a water bottle, or from any pond, ocean, or rainwater, whatever may be the source of water, or whatever may be the method of production of water, right? Every time the water will have the same two elements, that is hydrogen and oxygen. Means water is always made up of hydrogen and oxygen, whatever is the source of water, that is in compound. And also they said that the ratio of their masses is always same. Means if we talk about water, then ratio of mass of hydrogen to the ratio of mass of oxygen is always 1:8. What does it mean? It means if we take 9 gram water, it will always be made up of 1 gram hydrogen and 8 gram oxygen. In the same way, if we take 18 gram of water, then it will always contain 2 gram hydrogen plus 16 gram oxygen. Is that clear? Is that clear? Right. So what we come to know? We come to know that water is always made up of oxygen and hydrogen, and the ratio of masses of hydrogen and oxygen is always 1:8, whatever may be the source or method of production of water. Let's take a few more examples. If we talk about ammonia, then again ammonia, if we talk about ammonia, if there are 17 gram ammonia, then it will always contain 14 gram nitrogen and 3 gram hydrogen. So we can say the ratio of nitrogen to hydrogen in ammonia is always 14:3. Another example is given here of carbon monoxide. If we talk about carbon monoxide, it is made up of two elements. One is carbon and the other is oxygen, right? And the ratio of their masses is always 3:4. 3:4. So if we take 28 gram carbon monoxide, it will contain 12 gram carbon and 16 gram oxygen. That is in the ratio 3:4. If we convert this one 12:16, that is 12:16, then we will get this ratio. Okay. Another example of carbon dioxide is given here. Here you can see if we take carbon dioxide, then they will be in the ratio 12:32. Let's simplify this ratio. It will come to be 3:8. That means in any sample of carbon dioxide, carbon is always present with oxygen in the ratio of their masses of 3:8. For example, if there is 11 gram carbon dioxide, then there will be 3 gram carbon and 8 gram oxygen in it. So this is how we understand the law of constant proportions, that shows that the compounds are always made up of same elements in the same proportions by masses. So dear students, let's summarize the two laws. The first law was the law of conservation of mass, that states that mass is neither created nor destroyed in a chemical reaction, and the total mass of reactants is equal to the total mass of products of the reaction. In the same way, the second law, that is the law of constant proportion, states that a chemical compound is always made up of same elements having the same ratio, whatever may be the source of that compound. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you got the concept. You may ask your queries in the online class that I teach you, right? Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and also share it if you really like it. Thank you.